veteran's voice, stories that deserve to be heard.
Vincent Loran, United States Air Force, Master Sergeant retired, and this is my story. So I'm Vince Loran. I grew up in Bayamón, Puerto Rico and Bronx, New York. At the age of 18, I became a father, and the Air Force chose me. I say that because I was really not sure what to do and where to go, but I knew there was an opportunity to join the military. It's been in my DNA. My parents and all my uncles and relatives have been in the military. So I thought it was best to be part of that culture of serving our nation. So I was very fortunate in 1986 to join the Air Force after my daughter Sophia was born in January, and I joined delayed enlistment. So started out in Altus, Oklahoma, kid from Bronx, New York. That was a culture shock in itself, but I joined to travel the world, one thing I wanted to do, and I did that. Fortunately, it took me all around the world, 21 years, have two beautiful daughters, and have a lot of friends to call my brothers and sisters in arms. Throughout my military career, I served overseas in England, Air Force, Upper Hayford Air Force Base, where my daughter Margarita was born, and also served a lot of different deployments in stateside. I wound up culminating my career in Bowling Air Force Base as a superintendent of equal opportunity, which was pivotal for me because I started out as an aircraft electrician and wound up working with my hands. And one thing I learned through that experience was serving something bigger than yourself. And I said to my troops that followed me, you know what? You're like the doctor of fixing these aircraft. So it took a PhD because you know what? Our hands and our minds go into these planes working on them for those that are flying them to serve their mission to protect the air and the space. So it was interesting how that transition for me as a young kid from Bronx, New York, learning that I was responsible for multi-million-dollar aircraft and the lives that flew it. So it was bigger than me, and I passed that message on to others. So that was important. So I worked with my hands for the first 10 years, and as I mentioned, I retired as superintendent for equal opportunity. So that's when in 1988 was when I transitioned. In that transition, I started working on areas of discrimination and sexual harassment, creating equality and diversity and inclusion in all aspects of the Air Force. Pivotal, again, as I mentioned earlier, I came and I got the love for being in front of folks, educating, transforming the way they are. Because as I said in one of my seminars, that bullets don't see color, they only see Americans. So we all had to work together. And that's very true for all branches of the military. We all a team. So we all fought for that mission, for that flag that we fly high. Every day we see it. So I was very fortunate to have that experience both on the ground in the aircraft maintenance field and behind the scenes, just grooming the future leaders of the Air Force. At my 40th year birthday is when I retired from the Air Force. So it's a dual celebration. I actually turned 40 and I actually retired from the Air Force. Bittersweet, 2007 came around, and as all of us came to that fork in the road and that new chapter, what to do next? What am I gonna do when I grow up has always been the question. So I really dove into the equal opportunity arena. I was fortunate living in DC and Virginia and got a job in the United States Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Service, working in diversity programs, later promoted to diversity program manager for the agency. So I did that, it was great. In 2016 though, I decided to leave that all behind and start working towards my own passion and helping others in the professional development. And if I back off, if I may, the professional development given in the military is second to none. I mean, they groom you and they take care of you every step of the way, either enlisted or officer. And of course, team mentality, the camaraderie has always been important growing into these different ranks and different opportunities. Coming out of it, I saw a little different, I guess, camaraderie in a sense of how people work, in this, as we call them civilians. We're all humans, we're just different walks of life. But it was just interesting how the professional development didn't seem so much or had so much strength in the civilian sector. So I definitely decided to work in that field, start a company in 2019, Ignite RPM, which is Respect, Purpose, and Motivation, to work on the different aspects of professional development. But for me, I think this veteran community is again, second to none. We all love each other. As I mentioned earlier, bullets don't see color, we only see Americans. I was very fortunate while I was in DC to find a program called Dog Tag Bakery that helped veterans and caregivers and spouses going into education, higher education, employment, or actually just being an entrepreneur. So that path was pivotal for me because it was a holistic approach, not just the body, but also the mind, and of course what you learn as far as content. But from that, I took on a leadership coaching program in Georgetown, became an executive leader coach got my certification, and soon thereafter in 2017 moved here to Florida in August. So since I just recently arrived here in August, I luckily stumbled through a friend that told me about the Camaraderie Foundation. And with that, I was like, wow, what a great opportunity, similar to what Dog Tag did for me in Virginia, DC. I landed here and I decided to apply for the mentee side of the house since I really have not learned who's who in the North and Central Florida area. So I was fortunate to get accepted. Here I am finishing, culminating my year, and I've been grateful for the opportunities they have given me just either to connect. I call Camaraderie Foundation, the C is connecting, and the F is either friendship or following through in the future development. So I thought it was very pivotal for me just to see the connections I have grown in the last 6 months that I've been part of this wonderful program. And me to give back in 2020, my goal is to be a mentor as well. So I can definitely help others that have been in my shoes or actually just wanting to know what to do next. So just blessed to be here, blessed to be part of Central Florida. Florida has opened arms for veterans, and it's just been an honor to be part of this wonderful journey through the military to where I'm at today. And I thank you. And this is my story.